Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would love for you to go to Google and say the most famous musician you've never heard of. Just go to Google and speak in the mic or type the most famous musician you've never heard of. Then my thing will pop up and you click on it and you can read an excerpt from my book with Harry Nilsson and Timothy Leary and Joe Walsh and all this and Ringo. And then you can go to my website or you can go to my email and order an autographed copy from me directly, or go to Amazon for a little more money and shipping. I don't charge shipping and I'm cheaper than Amazon because it's autographed and it's personal for me. Hey there, everybody. How you doing? I just got back from sailing on my sailboat. Anyways, I am Andy Cahan, the most famous musician you've never heard of, and I'm here on the... Oh, shit. All right, this is take number 444, and my name is Andy Cahan, and I'm the most famous musician you've never heard of, sitting on my sailboat, doing a podcast, Never Gets Old podcast, with the famous, wonderful Mac Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen. Woo-hoo!
I'm Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod.
My name is Ichabod Crane.
Name's MacGyver. Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1.
I am Batman!
Hello, I'm the Doctor.
So there's this man, he has a time machine. Up and down history he goes, zip, 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 getting into scrapes.
For years, and maybe more than that, right, Mac? But how long has it been? Has it been 6, 7 years ago?
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Hey, now wait a minute. Now wait just a minute.
Human beings were not meant to sit in little cubicles staring at computer screens all day.
I've got something for you.
Oh, merci, Sonor.
Just one more thing, sir.
Oh boy.
Just like that. Bing, bang, boom.
At this point, I'd settle for the boom.
They'd love it here, don't you think?
This is what I'm saying.
And by the way, where is your podcast? Tell everybody that's here.
Welcome to the Never Gets Old podcast. The podcast of all we love in TV, movies, music, and comics. With your hosts, Mac Jackson and Nathan Shell. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, and YouTube. Donations at paypal.com, at macwjackson@comcast.net.
Listen to my taping songs, DJ saying that they're too long. His guitar may be silenced, but his soul goes on and on. Lord again, oh Lord again. His stories were like us, a beginning and an end, alone again. Now I listen in my room, cats in the cradle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Never Gets Old podcast. I'm your host, Mac Jackson. And today I have someone with me. This is a podcast, if you've been a listener, you know it's about great conversation. It's about sharing life stories and incredible things that happen every day. And our hobbies and our love of, TV, comics, pop culture, music. And today I have Andy Cahan on, who has a new book out called The Most Famous Musician You've Never Heard of. And he is known for his wonderful stories. I've known of him for quite a while now. And luckily enough, I get to have him on now. Here he is. He's on his boat. Got to go sailing. Where are you located at the moment?
I am in Oxnard, California, which is Port Hueneme, which is Ventura County.
Okay.
About an hour north of Los Angeles.
That's okay. So you're busy enough. You're in a busy enough part of the world that you'll never be bored, basically.
Oh, I know. It's so gorgeous out here. I have a home in the Palm Springs desert, and it's 120 degrees. And I'm glad I'm on my cool sailboat. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Do you like camp out in it? Do you stay there for a while?
Yeah, I sleep in it. It's, it's a 25-foot sailboat.
Oh yeah, you could live on that if you wanted.
I am living on it.
There, yeah. I don't blame you. That's and to be able to sail around. When did you start sailing?
About 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's beautiful islands out there called the Channel Islands.
Sure.
Anacapa and Santa Cruz and a couple others. And so I go out there and race with the dolphins and watch the pelicans dive for fish. And
that's not a bad life.
Yeah, and a big bull sea lion rolled up on my dock the other day. And
get out of here.
Yeah, he's about 1,000 pounds. Gigantic sea lion.
How'd you get him to leave? Did you just have to wait it out?
Yeah, I just waited for him to go. Yeah, he was just sunning, in the sun.
Well, around here we'll have bears that'll jump into swimming pools.
Oh my God, a black bear or brown bear?
Either one, you stay the heck away from them. You just enjoy yourself. We'll get you a towel when you're ready. But I wanted to tell you too, reading up on you, one of the things, you're one of the people who I'm impressed with, and I don't think many people understand this unless you're a musician. You are self-taught, and correct me if I'm wrong, on a lot of the instruments that you play. Yes. And I find learning one instrument, I'm a guitar player.
Okay.
But you play more than that, piano and all of that. I don't know. I find it, I try to tell people who want to play an instrument, you have to really, really, really want to play that instrument if you're going to try, because it's not instant gratification. You have to really work at it before, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. And that's why you get people who start maybe playing guitar or piano, and then unless they have somebody singing with them or standing over them, they'll quit. They'll just kind of, because I remember when I was a kid, I first tried to learn, I always sang. I'm a singer who plays guitar. I'm not a guitarist who sings. You know what I mean? So when I was a kid, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to play guitar. And the way that I was taught was the traditional, here's an A, boom, here's a B, boom. Well, as a kid, that's boring as can be. And it wasn't until years later where I went, all right, I'm 19, 20. I can't rely on other people. If I want to perform, I got to learn how to play something to go along with my singing. So I learned with a great guy who goes, all right, what song do you want to learn? I'm like, You mean you're going to show me how to play? Yeah. So you kind of got the gratification sooner. Well, with you, you learned what, piano first or guitar?
Drums.
Oh, geesh. Okay.
Yeah. The Beatles came out, and Ringo Starr taught me how to play drums by just listening to him play. So I taught myself how to play. And then, keyboards, it was about a tie score. I learned the keyboards from my father when I was 10 years old. He sat down with me and showed me how to play the Snake Charmer song.
Okay.
And it goes, bum, 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 bum.
Oh,
bum,
sure. Yeah.
So he just said, do what I do. So he had a triad, a D minor triad, 3 notes, and he said, go bum, 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 bum. And I said, and I did it. Then with the left hand, he said, go bum, 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 bum. And I learned how to play the Snake Charmer song with the left hand lead and the right hand rhythm. Then he said, switch them around. So I played the left hand chord, bop, 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 and the right hand lead, bum, 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 bum. So literally in 5 minutes, he taught me how to play rhythm and lead with left and right hand.
Wow.
And that was my only piano lesson.
That's amazing, though, because, I mean, I'm trying to teach my kids. My wife is naturally gifted at piano and harmony. And so I'm like, get our daughter and my son too. But my daughter has small hands, so she can't play guitar yet. She's only 9. But, but she's got the natural gift of harmony like her mother. I'm amazed. I'll sing and I'll look over and she's singing the harmony and I didn't teach her. She just knew. So get her going on piano. And I try to do the 2 hands. I could do one, certain songs, but I want to get to that point where I could do both hands. But then, like, you not only did you teach yourself that, but then to pick up another instrument, I'm always amazed and envious of that.
Yeah, I mean, listening to the Beatles, but actually Del Shannon,
Runaway. Yeah, sure, Runaway, yeah.
And I taught myself how to play that solo. Da, 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 da,
yeah.
And that was very cool. And then after listening to the Beatles and their amazing chord progressions and harmonies and everything, I taught myself, and I wrote a lot of songs that were like, flatted fifths and minor thirds and all this. I didn't know the names of the chords.
Yeah.
But I can figure out how to play them.
Yep.
And I just taught myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was a wonderful experience.
But it's something too, because, and you can testify to this, because this is what I try to say to anybody who goes, "Oh, you play guitar? I would like to learn guitar." I'm like, "Do you?" Because there is that time in the beginning where it's a lot of intense work and you have to be driven to do it. Like, you can't kind of want to do it. You have to be driven. You go, like in your case, I want to be a freaking Beatle. I want to do that. And so, I would sit in front of the TV. I'll give you an example. First guitar song I ever learned was WOLD by Harry Chapin. Okay, exactly. That's the look. Thank you. Because I don't know what I was thinking. I should have picked like a 3-chord song, Neil Diamond, something easy. But instead, I'm doing finger picking, and any Harry Chapin stuff is strumming and finger picking if you're going to do it right. I look back on it and I go, "You're an idiot. You should have picked something simple." But there is that time where you're just, I'm going to practice this in front of the TV, and I don't, so I don't have to think. I could just let my fingers work at it, because it's muscle memory that has to happen besides what you're thinking. Up here, I know it. It's getting my hands to do what my mind is, right?
Well, basically, I've narrowed it down. When you learn how to tie your shoe, from then on, you can always tie your shoe. And you must have love and fun. Music is fun.
Yes.
And that is it, baby.
Yeah.
Because if it's not fun, it sucks.
Yeah, it shouldn't be work.
So when you're creative and you're having fun, and you learn how to tie your shoe, which means you learn how to, oh, that's a C chord. Oh, cool. I can do this and make it go, and you're learning all this stuff. And then you hear all these songs like I did by the Beatles, where they would do these wonderful chord changes. And the way they placed their vocals was not within the triad of the chord.
Right.
It was a 6th or a 9th or a 13th. So it's just amazing. And one thing I've really learned, less is more. Don't overplay. I mean, there's a lot of jazz musicians, like, to me, I can't get into that. I like to hear, I can't get no. I want to rock and roll.
Sure.
I'm a rock. So I'm a caveman rocker. I like just playing music and having fun.
Yep.
Getting crazy. That's what the love is. And especially if you're on the stage in front of 75,000 people, and you're doing, the peace sign and everybody cheers. And, that's the kind of shit that you'll never forget.
Right. Oh, I told a guy who was playing lead guitar for me, because when we're doing a concert, we will do, like I'll sing lead and play guitar, but I'll leave the lead fancy stuff to the other guy. And one guy wanted to fill in so much in my song, because he knew of my song, but he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to keep it busy." And I said, the notes you don't play are just as important as the ones that you do.
It's leaving space. It's being tasty.
Yeah.
It's giving some room for other people to get creative and listening. You got to hear the other musicians. So some amateur musicians they're not listening to the band. They're just by themselves in their little blinders. But you have to listen to everything. And especially if you're playing solo. It's an amazing feeling if you're solo, like I've done a lot of solo work.
Sure.
At a restaurant or, a party or something. And you look around the room and you imagine what these people like. It's like a weird vibe that you pick up. Oh, that guy. Oh, I know what he likes, and you just look, oh, definitely know what she likes. So it's like, that's how I, feeding off of energy, because color and music are the basics of the human existence. Besides sex.
Well, sure.
But, color and music, those two elements alone design our creation as we know it.
Right. And I said to my wife, who again is also my band partner, it baffles me when I see people who go, "No, I like music." You don't get music though. Like, if you're willing, like, I find myself really, really, really critical of not great music. Like, there's a lot of popular music. It doesn't make it good, though. And the people who are good, you go, they deserve where they're at. You know what I mean? Where a lot of people will have a hit out because it was marketed, but it doesn't mean that they were necessarily good or the song was even any good. It could be something gratuitously simple. And, they apply to the least common denominator. But when you get someone who's good. Let me give it to you this way. If I like what you do, I'm getting everything that you do because you got past my wall, and that means, oh, give me. I'm hungry. Give me more. And I don't think enough of the world sees what you just said about the color and the music, and I think it should move you. It should inspire you. It should make you want to do it yourself. Like, how do you not sing? How do you know what I mean? Like you said with the Beatles. Well, you're like, okay, so this is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. Right?
Absolutely. It was such a dramatic change for me because, like I said, I liked Del Shannon and some of the other acts. But when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and it was magical, and it changed the whole world, not alone me.
Sure.
In fact, I used to have curly hair. And after seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I wanted to be a Beatle. Because I was making monster movies with all my friends at 15 years old, 14, 13 years old, whatever I was. And all of a sudden, I see this Beatles band on Ed Sullivan and all the screaming girls. And I said to myself, I'm not going to get any screaming girls making monster movies.
Well, different kind of screams, but
Well, they could be streamed from. Right, that's true. That was a good point. Anyway, but it changed my life musically, personality-wise, looks. I mean, I started a band, and we all bought a gray suede Beatle boots.
Okay.
They were
Sure.
gray suede Beatle boots,
Mm-hmm.
and we had my mom sewed us the blue Nehru jackets,
Mm-hmm.
like the Nehru collar, and with the white or black dicky
Mm-hmm.
beneath it,
Sure.
and with our black pants, and we all looked the same, and we were the Beatles, and we were called the Individuals, but we won every single Battle of the Bands contest in Westchester County, New York.
Nice.
And this is 1964, 65, 66, and 67. And it was amazing. I mean,
oh, sure.
That was the British invasion. That was the Animals, the Stones, the Kinks, the Zombies, the Beau Brummels, Dave Clark 5, Petula Clark. I mean, you can go Donovan. I mean, just keep on going on.
Oh,
and
yeah,
on.
yeah.
And that is Andy. All that British invasion melted into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I take pieces of that thing and write songs with it.
Wow. And you were, I mean, I feel that with you because I don't think enough people get it, where not enough people are motivated. I remember when I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do too, and I'm going to start writing songs. It takes a certain level of boldness, I guess, when you say, I'm going to write something, because think about your heroes. I'm going to try and do what there's no way. There's no way I could write as good as that. But doggone it, I'm going to try and I'm going to learn. And I always admire when I see fellow artists that even at a young age, you were a teenager and you decided that you were going to start writing stuff. I mean, did you have any hesitancy about that? Or did you just go, no, I'm doing it?
It was amazing. Every day after school, at lunchtime at school in junior high school, at lunchtime, my friends Sandy and Reno and Larry and a singer, a drummer, and a guitar player. And I bought the Farfisa Combo Compact. It's a red organ, 1965. And the left hand is bass. So it's black keys with the white.
Okay.
So the bass, and the right hand is organ.
Huh.
So it was like the Dave Clark 5, Mike Smith,
Yeah.
I always loved that. Anyway, so we had a band, 4 guys, and we were the Beatles again, but we were doing our original material and we were doing cover songs. And the lead singer was the best. He could sing anything. And the guitar player and the drummer and me. And it's very tight when you're playing keyboards and your left hand is going with the drummer. So
okay.
You're with the drummer with your left hand and your right hand is having fun. Anyway, it's just an amazing experience to be able to let your body flow, and it just, once you get into the groove, you start getting more excited about it.
That's I've done a 4-hour show because I was playing with other people, and I was so full of energy, because it becomes like an adrenaline addiction where you're like, oh, you did a cool thing with my own song, and let's keep going, even though your body's going, like, I remember getting my calluses that I already had were getting torn up, but I could not stop. So you're right. You feed off that energy of other musicians, and it kills you when the night has to end, because you're like, no, I want to do this again. How soon can we do this again? I get addiction now.
Well, yeah, the pandemic has really literally fucked that up.
Right.
Because I haven't had a contact, getting out there and playing and being with people and shit.
Mm-hmm.
and it really sucks. I
Right.
mean, you can sit at home and play piano and do all that stuff.
Sure.
And that's nice. It keeps you going. But when you're out in front of fucking audience,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, man, that is it.
And if they start,
That's why, I was going to say, that's why Paul McCartney is constantly touring.
I love that. I hate when people say, "Oh, at a certain age you should stop doing it." Bull crap. As long as you can breathe and as long as you have the desire, do it. Be creative. Like Cat Stevens had quit for years, and now he's been back for the last bunch of years. And I'm like, good. Just keep going. Keep Paul Simon put out stuff. There's no reason why you should stop.
Well, once you've been there and done that, then you realize that is your life. That's what you're going to do.
Right.
And that's what happened to me. And it became my life. And I became very stubborn. I didn't want to dig ditches. I didn't want to do telephone sales. I didn't want to drive a truck. I wanted to be a guy on stage, bouncing and jumping around and having a great time.
Well, okay. So tell me, how do you go? You have your band, you're a teenager, you're winning the awards. What makes you become a professional studio guy? How does that happen?
It's like learning how to tie your shoe. Same exact thing. You're in a studio, you're at a rehearsal, you're on a stage, and something happens and you go, oh my God. And you just, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. All right. So you're learning as you do. And even at 73 years old, I'm learning. I enjoy playing with other musicians because it's just, you're all sharing this vibe. And then the people in the audience, they're sharing your vibe, And it's just wonderful to look at them, dancing or whatever, or doing this.
Right.
And it's very gratifying. That makes you feel like, whew, I've accomplished that. That's a good feeling. And that is my goal.
Oh, sure.
I make people smile at parties. They hire me to play a birthday party or something. And I just make them all stand by the piano and sing along. And, I am not a good singer. I'm okay at screaming.
Sure.
Like, let us live. That's
yeah.
Sing.
Sure.
I sing like that. I just kind of, hey, baby, but it's not singing like Paul McCartney or Little Richard or Howard Kalin or really dynamite singers. I'm not a dynamite singer. So my whole life has been getting another guy to sing the song I wrote.
Oof.
I can't sing my own song. It's too hard.
Isn't that funny?
Other really, really, really good singers. I mean, all my life I've depended on a really good singer for my original music.
Do you remember the first time you were in a studio?
Oh, the first time was 1964 or 63, 64, somewhere around there. And it was a 2-track studio. That means it was just 2 tracks. That's it. So they record the band on 1 track in mono. Then they do the vocals and the tambourine on the other track in mono. 2 tracks. Then they make a mono mix out of it.
Sure.
And they blend, the lead vocal and tambourine with the tracks so everything sounds uniform. And that's how they did it. And it was a 1 take. We'd go in there and tune up, and then 1, 2, 3, and we'd play the songs 1 take.
Wow. And it was your band?
Yeah, it was all my original music.
Wow. See that, and I get that too, because to have someone play your song, or to have somebody I know it's been in my case to sing back my own lyrics back to me. That's magical.
Well, Harry Nilsson, you know who Harry?
Oh,
Nilsson?
sure, yeah.
Well, Harry Nilsson was over my house, and he said, Andy, I need you to do a song for me. It's called "I Know Why," and it's an old Glenn Miller song. So I did it for him. I programmed it, and then I said, "Okay, Harry, would you do me a favor and sing one of my songs?" And he said, "Sure." So Harry Nilsson sang one of my songs.
Wow.
It's called Karen, and it was my girlfriend at the time. And, we went to dinner with Harry for his birthday, and Ringo and Van Dyke Parks and Barbara Bach and Harry's wife, Una, and Karen and myself. We all had dinner together. And
I know Mickey Dolenz was really close with him because he wrote Cuddly Toy for the Monkees. And then him and
close,
right,
very close. And Mickey Dolenz and Flo and Eddie and I did "I'm a Believer" on the radio, and it was just me on the piano on a key synthesizer.
Sure.
And Mickey and Mark and Howard sang, "I'm a Believer" by the Monkees.
What year was that?
1980. Late 80s.
Okay.
Early 90s. And it was at the Alice Cooper Clarence Clemens Oktoberfest at 20th Century. No, it was at Universal City. In Universal City. And so I picked up all the celebrities in a limo.
Oh, wow.
I took them to the tent. There were 40 radio stations from the entire world at this event, and they all had tents, and they broadcast from inside the tent. And
wow.
The satellite trucks were outside anyway. So Harry Nilsson was one of the guests, and Harry and I became really, really close friends. And he recorded 35 songs in my living room. We started out with a 4-track cassette, and we did a whole bunch of demos. And then I finally got an 8-track ADAT machine, and then I finally got Pro Tools. But all the early stuff in the 90s was 4-track cassette.
Man, yeah, I know what you mean. And
it was actually 3 tracks, because track number 4 was used as my sync track going to my Sonic Performance sampler keyboard. So it was like state of the art for then. It's Pro Tools and ADAT got popular.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I know that Mickey, Ringo, Alice Cooper, and Harry were known as the Hollywood Vampires, because Alice Cooper used to live next door to Mickey, and then they'd go play golf and tennis together, and baseball Oh, hang on.
And they toured together. They were all really tight, really close friends. And Alice, I met Alice several times. In fact, there's a picture of Bernie Taupin holding my daughter, who was like 2.5 years old or whatever, 3 years old, and Grace Slick and Alice Cooper and Howard Kalin and who's Grace Slick's husband? What's his name? Come on.
You're putting me on the spot now. You're killing me. All right. I'm going to look it up because it's going to bother me too.
Paul
there
Kantner.
There you go. Okay.
See, my brain does work at 73 years old. I can still remember 200 or 300 songs. I can close my eyes and I can talk to you and play songs.
Right.
It's like a natural.
Isn't that wonderful?
And I'm amazed at all these notes and all these and everything. I remember them without even trying to remember.
Do you do the thing?
A natural thing that my body lives.
Do you do the thing where I remember when this happened to me? I can hear something, and without even thinking about it, my hand just knows. And I'm not, I could be talking to you, but if I hear a G chord, my hand will go up to the G, and I'll look and go, oh, I wasn't even trying to do that. Like something in your muscle memory just automatically recognizes the chord. And I'm like, oh, when did that happen? So, yeah, I was thinking about you with the stories of all the people that you've rubbed shoulders with, as they say. And you tell me if you feel the same way. I find that through the years, it becomes very surreal because I make friends with wonderful people who happen to be in quote unquote the business. And it becomes surreal because I stop thinking very quickly about them as the person from this band or this show or whatever, and they become your friend. And so then there's like the surreal part where you see them on TV and you go, oh, that's right, I forgot, they're famous. Does that happen with you too?
Well, I'm the opposite. I'm a starstruck guy. Anytime I meet a celebrity of any sort, I am excited. I'm thrilled. I'm really hyper because I just met a famous actor or a famous musician. So just as an example, I was hired by Little Richard to be the music director for the Grammys, 1973 or 74. Anyway, Grammys, 73, 4.
Yeah.
And the rehearsal was with Chuck Berry. So in a small room backstage with an upright piano, Little Richard, Chuck Berry with his guitar, and myself, and we're rehearsing the show for the Grammys because they were going to sing their hit records and then change the lyric from Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy. Instead of that, it would be Al Green, he's clean. Al Green, So they did the nominees for the awards name instead of the lyrics for the song. So we did, all of Chuck's hits and all the Little Richard's hits. And here I am, just the three of us.
Wow.
In the room, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, and myself rehearsing their hits.
Oof.
And I'm going, oh my God, because the Beatles influence Paul McCartney, Little Richard.
Oh yeah, that's him.
That's Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
and then John Lennon is Chuck Berry.
Right.
So it's like the full circle. I just became a musician because of the Beatles.
Wow.
And then here I am performing the Grammys with the two guys they are influenced by.
That's amazing.
So, it blew me away. That's an amazing event in my
yeah.
life.
Were you already playing with the Turtles at that point?
Oh, no.
When did that happen?
Yeah, I was in between bands at that time. I was with Jimmy Carl Black, the Indian of the group, with Frank Zappa.
Mm-hmm.
And we started a band called Geronimo Black in 1972. And that lasted till, 1974, whatever, 73, I don't know, whatever. We met in 1968, but the record deal was in 1972. Anyway, after that, I was invited to join Little Richard. I got a phone call from Craig Krampf, Krampf, Krampf.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a really great drummer, played Hot Child in the City and Betty Davis Eyes. And
sure.
Wonderful. He recorded with me on my originals. Anyway, he called me up and said, Little Richard is looking for an organ player. And we got to meet at the airport tomorrow morning. We're going to Pennsylvania. So I joined Little Richard, no rehearsal. If you don't know a Little Richard song,
you're insane.
goodbye.
Right.
You got to know the shit. So there's no rehearsal. We get up on a 50,000 seat venue with Little Richard in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and he comes out there and tears it up. He made that audience go crazy. He made me go crazy. The goosebumps. It was so exciting. That never meeting the guy, and then all of a sudden you're his organ player while he's jumping around. And that just meeting him was absolutely incredible. Really nice.
So you went from that to the Turtles?
And what happened was Jimmy Carl Black, Geronimo Black.
Mm-hmm.
After I did Little Richard, I came home and then still hanging out with Jimmy Carl Black, and he was invited to do a movie called 200 Motels with Flo and Eddie and Ringo Starr and Theodore Bickel and Frank Zappa and Ringo's, whatever. It was a movie. Jimmy Carl Black did a famous song in that movie called Lonesome Cowboy Bert. And Flo and Eddie were the background singers, and it was in this movie, and that's how I met Mark Volman and Howard Kalin at a rehearsal with Frank Zappa. Jimmy took me to rehearsal, and I got to meet everybody in the band that was in the movie, plus Flo and Eddie, and then we went to the studio another time, and their keyboard player had to stay in the studio and record and couldn't go on the road. And so they said, Andy, well, are you available to go on the road? I said, sure. And that was 1973. And that's when I joined the Turtles.
Wow.
And I played with them through 2012.
Okay. Were you on the Gary Shandling show with them?
It's on, you Google it.
I did. I was watching on YouTube, but it's pixelated so bad. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's Andy. I bet you that's Andy.
You go to my website. You can, the most famous musician, it'll take you to my website. And I have videos on my website. And one of the videos is the Gary Shandling show.
Mm-hmm. I recognize it by the way that you moved. I'm like, yeah, that's got to be Andy.
Yeah, we did the opening theme song. This is the thing, the Gary show. And we, then at the ending we went ba 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 ba. So it was a fun show. It was great.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of wonderful television with the Turtles. We did Wonderland back in 1974.
Wow.
5, I can't remember, and it was a great movie about the Turtles and shit. I did the Sunset Strip with the Unknown Comic.
Sure.
The guy who wore the bag over his head.
Oh yeah.
And that was a TV pilot. We did a TV pilot called Happy Together for Lorenzo Music, who was the butler on the Mary Tyler Show.
Wow.
But whatever, we did some really, really wonderful videos, especially one in Sydney, Australia, promoting an album called Moving Targets. And that was on Columbia. And that was the second album we did on Columbia. And that was really wonderful performing there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I was to Australia with Little Richard and 2 times with the Turtles.
Was he a good guy, Little Richard?
He was the wonderful. He was absolutely a great guy. We were hanging out there at the airport, smoking a cigarette, waiting for the airplane, and just talking like a normal guy.
Yep.
He's just a normal, wonderful, terrific human.
He always seemed like a very sweet man.
Very sweet. And once he hit that stage, forget about it. It was the most exciting thing you'll ever see or ever. He was better than anybody to me.
Sure.
Paul McCartney and a lot of great musicians are great, but when you look at Little Richard's performance, even in the early 1950 days, his energy was so amazing. John Belushi had that same energy. Paul McCartney is a magical energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I met John Belushi, he never stopped making me laugh. He was always on stage.
Now, how did you meet him?
He came and sat in with the Turtles when we played at the Bottom Line in New York City.
Oh, I know the Bottom Line.
Yeah, and he came on stage and we sang Happy Together. Then Mark Volman, Howard Kalin, and me and John Belushi hopped in a taxi and drove to a hotel in Greenwich Village. And he kept us up all night, laughing, doing funny stuff. He pretended he was on cocaine. So he went into the closet and he made all these weird noises in the closet. And then he comes out of the closet and he goes like, and then he runs to the window and he opens up the window of the hotel room and he yells out, "Ah!" And he shuts the window and he runs back to the closet and we were cracking up. We were crying. We were laughing so hard. This is John Belushi. He was never turned off.
Right.
He was always on stage. Billy Bob Thornton, always on stage. It's always Billy Bob. He never changes.
Yeah. And
Little Richard, when he's backstage just hanging out, smoking a cigarette at the airport, he's just a normal guy.
Yeah. Just you take those quiet moments, you never take them for granted.
And sitting there with Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr. Harry brought Ringo over to my house. It was really crazy because when I was first moving out in 1968 to California, I had a premonition, and it was a Beatle was over my house, sitting next to me, and he had his shoes off. And this is 1968. Then in 1992, Harry Nilsson invited Ringo Starr to come over to my living room to record a children's story. So here we are, 100 degrees out in the valley. I had to turn off the air conditioner so it wouldn't get on the microphone.
Sure.
And we're all sweating to death doing these children's stories. And Ringo took his shoes off. Oof. So there I was with a Beatle in my house, sitting next to me with his shoes off. The same exact premonition in 1968.
Wow.
It came true.
Did you ever tell him?
No, I didn't want to bug him. You can't really bug a Beatle.
Right.
Especially Ringo, he's not into being bugged.
Yeah.
But, other Beatles, George Harrison was easy you could, but you just don't want to say, hey, what was it like?
Sure.
You can't do that. Even though you're dying to do that, you want to pull out every Beatle album and have them autograph every single one of them,
Mm-hmm.
But I just was cool. And the only thing I asked him was, hey, Ringo, I have a flavor. And he goes, a flavor? And I said, yeah, do you mind if I take my picture with you? We can have Harry take the picture. So I had one of those Kodak throwaway yellow cameras.
Oh, yeah.
For $8. And so Harry Nilsson took my picture with Ringo Starr. And then I said, hey, come on, Harry, get over there. Let's take a picture with you and Ringo. So I took a picture of Harry Nilsson and Ringo. So, this is all in my freaking living room. I had to turn on the air conditioner because we were all dying.
Right.
And it was funny as hell having Ringo over. And then we hop in Harry's Mercedes and we take Ringo home. And we're sitting in Ringo's living room. And I said, Ringo, do you mind if I use your bathroom? And he said, sure, right at the end of the hallway. And so I get up and I go to the bathroom. And as I'm peeing, looking at the wall, there's a platinum album of It Don't Come Easy. And this is in the bathroom. It don't come easy. Then I come out and I sit down at the couch, and Ringo had two acoustic guitars, one red one and one blue one. And I said, hey, do you mind if I play your guitar? Go right ahead. So I pick it up, and so Ringo's sitting on the couch, Harry's sitting on the couch, and I'm on another couch. And I started strumming, you know, and then Harry starts singing, listen for your footsteps coming up the drive. And then Ringo joins in, listen for your footsteps, but they don't arrive. You know, and here I am, fucking sitting with Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr doing, you know, Don't Pass Me By from the White Album.
Wow.
And I'm going, what?
Wow. What? Yeah.
I mean, it's like that little Richard Chuck Berry thing. It's like amazing icons that I've hung out with and got stoned with and laughed with, and just like a high school buddy. That's what Harry was.
Yep.
He brought back the days when I was 15 years old and driving around the car till 4 o'clock in the morning, smoking a joint and singing at the top of our lungs, you know?
Wow.
And he played all of his music, and, you know, he'd sing along with it. And we were both 4 o'clock in the morning driving around. He'd take me over to Timothy Leary's house.
Oh, sure.
And it was great. He knocks on the door, and Timothy Leary opens up the door, and he grabs Harry by the face, and he gave Harry a big kiss. And then he says, "Who's that?" And Harry says, "Oh, this is my friend Andy." So Timothy grabs me by the face, and gives me a big kiss, and we walk into his house. And the first thing you see is a 20-foot Gumby.
Oh.
Remember Gumby?
Oh, sure.
So it was 20 feet high, a big freaking Gumby. And then you turn around, you look in the kitchen, and there's a gigantic rainbow table in the kitchen, a rainbow.
Sure.
It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Then we go into the living room, and he had about 5 or 6 young girls. I mean, they were all legal.
Sure,
but
sure.
They were young, and they were all hanging out in the living room and watching a movie that Timothy Leary made about love. And then we're sitting at the couch in the living room, and there's a bass fiddle, you know, boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
And, Timothy grabs the bass fiddle and lies it down on the carpet, upside down, so the strings are on the rug.
Okay.
And he starts pounding it, boom, 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 boom. You know, he starts playing a drum on the back of the bass fiddle. And then Harry picks up a spoon, and he starts playing the spoon. And then I didn't know what to do, so I just hit the rug with my hand.
Sure.
We started jamming, you know, with Timothy Leary, Harry Nilsson playing an upside down bass fiddle on the rug. I mean, it's just crazy.
Wow.
I don't even remember what happened at the end of that party.
Sure.
Because I did drink, and I could have been on a great acid trip, and I just don't remember it.
Sure.
But it was wonderful.
Man, I mean, it's so funny, too, because there's no way you could plan for those moments.
I have one more great one that you're going to love.
Okay.
Okay, this is a good one. 1968, I moved to California, and my mom's best friend was the president of Pulsar Records, which was a subsidiary of Mercury Records. 1968, the artists on his label were Dr. John the Night Tripper,
mm-hmm.
and Graham Bond. Graham Bond was in England, a blues saxophone Hammond B3 with Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce before the Cream, before Eric Clapton. So Graham was on the label, and he was doing his original music. And my job at the record company was a gopher. Sure. I would do the Xerox and take photos and drive my VW bus and pick up the musicians and take them to a recording session. So Graham Bond calls me. He says, "Andy, we got a jam session at a studio. You want to go?" Yeah. So I pick him up, and he said, "Bring your harpsichord." At the time, I had a Baldwin electric harpsichord, which is the same instrument used on Because by the Beatles.
Sure.
Because it's the same instrument. Anyway, it was going through a Hammond Leslie speaker. And it was an amazing instrument. So I brought that in the VW bus with Graham Bond, and we went to TTG Studios on Sunset and Gower in Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
And I walked in, I started setting up my stuff, and Lowell George from Little Feat, Lowell George, was playing the flute. So he was rehearsing, getting his chops up on the flute. And Jack Cassidy from the Jefferson Airplane was on the bass.
Mm-hmm.
And Graham Bond was on the organ, and I was on the harpsichord, and Mitch Mitchell was on the drums. And then I feel this weird feeling, and I look behind me, and in walks Jimi Hendrix with two blonde chicks.
Of course.
One carrying his amplifier and one carrying his guitar. And they walked in, and he set up right next to me.
Oh.
He sat down. I could touch him. He was that close, and we jammed the blues in A for 2 hours.
Man.
And it was psychedelic, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever encountered because, all these amazing Lowell George, Jack Cassidy, Mitch Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are all icons. Anyway, so at the end of the session, I was in shock, and Jimmy had a joint, and he said, "Here, come on." And so he lights up the joint, and we're in the corner of the studio, and the bass player's roadie came over, and so the three of us were sharing a joint in the corner of the studio. So Jimi Hendrix starts going, he starts singing a guitar part with his mouth.
Sure.
And then he hands the joint to me, and I start going, and I was the drummer.
Right.
And then I hand the joint to the other guy, and he started going, he was the bass player. So here we are sharing a joint as a power trio with our mouths.
That's so neat.
It's just funny. I mean, where are you going to run into this shit?
I'm telling you, and everything I've ever heard of Jimi Hendrix, he was opening for the Monkees, and whenever they talk about him, they say he was the most nicest, mellowest, kind-hearted, sweet guy you'd ever want to spend time with. Even though he's playing, and going crazy on the guitar, to talk to him, everything was just very low key, and he was,
That's bashful.
Yeah.
He was bashful.
Isn't that funny?
He was very, everybody compliments him all the time. So when you're complimented, you get, you build up a little calmness about you, so you don't go overboard. If you're bombarded with compliments all the time, it really could affect you.
Sure.
In the wrong way.
Yeah, you get arrogant.
In the right way.
Oh, sure. Well,
I know two guys who were affected the wrong way. One of them was David Clayton Thomas, the lead singer. What goes up must come down. He was the lead singer in the Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Right.
And I we were playing the same concert together, and we were walking on the stage, and I just joked at him. I just go, "What goes up?" And he gave me the snake eye, mean, horrible, fuck you look.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't believe it. I was trying to be nice and funny, and
Sure.
he got upset. And and another guy was Van Morrison,
Sure.
of all people. We did a gig with him with Geronimo Black in 1968, and I meet him backstage, and he was mean, and he was not happy, and he was grumpy, and he was, leave me alone, and oh God, it's just
Really?
I don't understand that. It's just crazy. How could you be a musician and have such a grumpy whatever?
Well, and you know what? It's funny because I always say that on it's come up a lot of times on the podcast too, where I'm like, if you're blessed enough to be a successful actor or a musician, you have the best life. There's no reason why you should ever be anything but blissfully happy and kind, kind to each other and kind to your audience.
Yeah, I mean, hip hop, punk rock. There are some black music. There's dark music,
Sure.
and then there's the Beatles.
Sure.
So the Beatles are the Flowers and all that shit, and the heavy, deep, the heavy. There's an audience for that, and people love that, and there's an audience for every type of music. So I just chose the British Invasion.
Sure.
So I'm stuck there. I don't like other stuff.
I'm with you. Like I said in the beginning, music, and you said it too. Music should make you happy. Music should be a celebration. It should be a unity thing. If somebody's screaming and angry and it's about attitude, well then, what are you doing for the world? Is the world a better place because you're, screaming and angry? No. And yet I'll see people, hey, you live in LA or in that area, you get cars going by playing the like, all right, it's too loud. First of all, I don't care what the song is. If it's that loud, you're hurting your ears, because I know I'm 3 cars away and I can still hear it. So you've already missed the whole point of music to begin with.
Yeah, unfortunately, the new generation, each generation, my mother, her mother, every generation has its own music.
Mm-hmm.
So my generation was the British Invasion. But the children of today, they're immediately introduced to the hip hop rap and the boom,
mm-hmm.
Yo, whoa.
Or the poppy. Don't forget the poppiness that they'll play. The easy,
I don't. It's that I don't like it. They love it and they're enjoying it, and it makes them happy. So,
I would hope it makes them happy, because, like I said, if it's causing or upping your anxiety or your, say, attitude, because it's attitude music, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, that's not really. I don't get that. I think that's the opposite of what music is supposed to do, right? And and you also can tell if it lasts, like the stuff that we love. You're saying British Invasion. Well, we're still hearing that because it's timeless. It's happy. It makes people be in a good mood, so it's never going to go away.
Yeah, that's my opinion as well. Love and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are important. Colors, music, love, fun,
mm-hmm.
and sex.
Sorry. Well, sure. That goes without saying.
That's part of love. It's a subdivision of love.
I always have the motto of give, forgive, and be humble. If you follow, no matter what you do in life, one of those 3 things comes into play, and I think that's right.
Yeah, there was a really good Facebook post. Laugh more, eat less, give more, and one other thing about being grateful or something. Mm-hmm. It was just very simple, and it's a very. Life is so short; it goes by so quick. I'm 73 years old. It still looks the same. Mm-hmm. I still see trees and girls and stuff. But when I look in the mirror, I go, what the hell happened? Right? You just don't know. So I'm grateful that I'm functioning, because a lot of people are dead. Half the people in my book are dead.
Yeah.
Life is extremely precious, every moment.
Well, I do love the fact that you have made the most of it, whether it's being a musician and learning multiple instruments, which, like I said, I admire, but also writing the book. Now, I write too, but writing is one thing, but you got yours published and it's out there and it's fascinating.
Well, what's very interesting is throughout my life since 1960, I saved every calendar, every postcard, every letter, every contract, every photograph, every vinyl, every T-shirt, every button, every sticker, every hat. I saved them all.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, oh my God, this is amazing. So I scanned all the photographs, I scanned them, and the posters and the flyers. So my book is full of all this imagery. It's a scrapbook. It's a rock and roll scrapbook, because I do, every picture tells a story.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at the picture of me and Little Richard and Chuck Berry on the Grammys, a freeze frame from the TV, it brought back all these memories. And so that's how I wrote my book. And I, made it chronological as close as I can.
Sure.
And I saved, and it was really easy to build the book. And then I hired the best editor you can ever hire. And his name is Jeff Tamarkin. And he was the editor of Goldmine magazine for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows his music history. And he's interviewed everybody, literally. You name it, he's interviewed them. And he's the king of editing. So he edited my book for me. He said, you can't use that photo, it sucks. Let's change this, and he corrected all the capitalization and italic. And he built the index, and you can imagine how difficult and time consuming it is for him to do an index.
Oh, yeah.
Because italics are for songs or titles of plays. You have to remember what each thing is, and then you make those in order, and then the person's name is the last name first with the comma. It's just a son of a bitch to build an index.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he did all that, plus edited the book, and he turned me on to we were trying to get a publisher, but the publisher said, it's not a book, it's a scrapbook. But let's call it a rock and roll scrapbook. And it's been selling. It's been out for a year, and I've made all my money back that I spent on the editor. And so it's a slow moving Facebook.
Right.
That is my only form of advertising. A little bit of Twitter, a little bit of TikTok, a little bit of Instagram. Anyway, but Facebook is my major advertising.
And it's free, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, to hire a PR person to get you on the Tonight Show, it'll probably cost you 10 grand.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Easy 10 grand.
Yeah. Because of all the nudging and stuff that they have to do.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Luckily, I was on a couple of really great shows, so I got to hang out. I was, oh God, what was it? Oh, beside Gary Shanley, what was the other guy's name? The famous jock who had all these. I can't remember his name. Never mind.
Well, now
Elliot Mintz.
Oh, okay.
You know who Elliot Mintz is?
Sure.
Yeah, he was John Lennon's close friend, and he had his own Head Shop 52 in 1968 and 69. It was a cable TV show, the first cable TV shows, and we did some Geronimo Black songs on the show.
Wow.
So I wish I had a copy of that. I should have got a copy.
Well,
my book is full of all this stuff.
I love it. I know.
Because I saved all these photographs. I go, oh my God, look at this guy. And I Google his name, and I find out all the shit about him that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, wow, look at this, So it's, like the first musician I met was Mark Rodney, Baddorf and Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize Baddorf and
Sure.
Rodney? They had 3 albums or whatever, and they were like a really good duo, excellent, and great vocals. So he was the first guy I met in 1968 when I first moved into Hollywood, and he smelled the marijuana smoke from my VW bus as he was walking by.
He's like, hey, I got to meet this guy.
Yeah, he knocked on the window and said, hey, man, can I join you? And I said, sure. And we talked. I play guitar and I play flute and all this shit. Come on in. And I had my harpsichord, and we recorded some songs on my Wallensack tape recorder in mono.
Wow.
So, 1968, and he turned out to be Bad Dorf and Rodney. He was also a movie star, a child movie star, Dennis the Menace.
Sure.
He was one of Dennis the Menace's friends.
Huh.
And he also did Red October. He was
wow.
in the movie. So he's been in and out of that. And his father was a famous jazz trumpeter.
Mm.
So it's really interesting. My book, every page is a different story.
Now, did you ever convert your tapes to digital?
Oh, yeah, you have to.
I was going to say, yeah, I would hate for something to happen to them.
Well, I have thousands of cassette tapes that I still store vertically. You can't lie them down, because if you lie a cassette tape down, the tape will start curling.
Sure.
And fall down. So you have to stand them up so everything's flat.
Huh.
So that's the proper way to store a VHS
right.
or a cassette. So it's flat instead of curved. Anyway, I have thousands of those. So I sit there and download it into GarageBand.
Yep.
And then burn MP3 files. So I have everything. It's a very time-consuming process, but
sure.
I'm trying to digitize all that because the life of an analog tape is, 10 years.
Well, what I'm hoping that you'll do is once they're converted, you could start putting out collections of your own.
I already have 5 or 6 things up on YouTube right now.
Mm-hmm.
All my albums, all my songs, all my great songs, and you get to hear all these wonderful singers. Do you know who Ezra Mohawk is? Ezra Mohawk.
It sounds familiar.
She wrote the hit song for Cyndi Lauper, Colors or something like
that.
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
She wrote that song. And she played with Frank Zappa. And Frank Zappa called her Uncle Meat. She was Uncle Meat for Frank Zappa. And I met her through Jimmy Carl Black with the Frank Zappa routine. Anyhow, so she is singing a song with me. She's singing the lead and I'm harmonizing it on YouTube. And I have great singers singing. I even have Harry Nilsson singing the song that I wrote on YouTube.
That's so neat. Yeah, I was listening to a lot of his demo stuff, and you're like, boy, I don't know if that ever actually got made into a proper, studio recording, but it's a catchy song. There's one where he's playing, I think with Chip Douglas in the studio. He's, and it was supposed to be like demos for the Monkees, and a lot of the songs, like, okay, I know Cuddly Toy, that actually made it. But a whole bunch of his other songs, I'm like, boy, that would have been interesting. Ooh, I would have liked to have heard how that ended. He might play like a snippet of it or, because it was just one long take where Chip then goes, no, that was good. What else you got? He goes, all right, well, here's another one. And then he might pause in the middle of it and explain how he envisioned, there may be horns here or something. And I love all that stuff.
Yes, I did 35 songs with Harry in my living room, and it was fun and full of love because what he did is he would show me the part on the piano because he is a piano player.
Right.
So he'd say, I want this type of piano. And then we'd lay that down, and I said, do you want like a Ringo drum? And he said, yeah, give me a Ringo drum. So I dum chat, dum chat, Ringo. Mm-hmm. And then he wanted a trombone part. So I loaded a trombone into the keyboard and he sang the part to me. And I played the trombone to his vocal.
Oh.
And then he said, I want some brass, a little horn section. So he would tell me what to do and I would perform it. And that's how we would work together. And it was gold.
Yeah.
It was gold. I mean, I never had more fun in my life. And I can just imagine John Lennon and Harry Nilsson did Pussycats. Are you familiar with that album? It's a famous album if you're a Beatle or Nilsson fan. It's
right.
called Pussycats. And John Lennon was doing the primal scream. Do you know what the primal
Sure.
scream?
Oh, yeah.
When he'd scream, it's in one of his early songs, Mother.
Right.
Where he goes,
Uh-huh.
So he taught it to Harry Nilsson. And Harry Nilsson started to do the primal scream. Unfortunately, he lost his upper voice. He couldn't sing high anymore. He can only do baritone and tenor. And the song I asked him to sing that I wrote, it goes up very high. And he tried and he hit it. But then he got up and went to the bathroom and threw up.
Wow, geez.
Yeah. So anyway, he lost his high end. So we did great songs. We did Mother-in-Law, Mother-in-Law, Mother-in-Law.
Oh, sure.
And he did all the baritone, Mother-in-Law. He did it great. And he sang the lead, The city is buzzing, I know. And he did a great Harry Nilsson lead on it. And, and we did Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow?
Oh, sure.
And he said, Andy, I'm going to call up Carol. She'll come sing harmony with me.
Get out of here.
And she was going to come down, but then Harry died. Right in the middle of everything. We were going to do all kinds of shit. I did his publishing for him. We went through every song that he wrote. And he brought it to my house, and I made a medley cassette and DAT tape of every single song ever that he recorded or wrote. So those songs that you were talking of earlier were on that list.
Man.
So I did all that publishing. We were trying to get him a record deal, the best of Harry Nilsson. And then he died.
Yeah.
And now he's a hero, and he's always been a hero. He was the only guy who never toured. He never did a live performance.
Oh, I know. Isn't that something?
There's only 2 times he did with Ringo Starr in Las Vegas and in Beverly Hills at the Beatle Fest. He sang Without You. But he had to change the key of the song. They started in the normal key, and then it goes up very, very high. So he couldn't sing high anymore. So he stopped the band in the middle of the song. And he says, could you change key for me? Take it down. And they did, and he finished the song in a lower key.
Wow.
So it was amazing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The same thing with Bobby Hatfield. He had the smash hit Unchained Melody.
Sure.
Oh, my love, my darling. Right?
Yeah.
And he owned a nightclub with Bill Medley. I forgot the name of it, but it was in Orange County, and it was a nightclub. They owned it, a music nightclub. And the bartender had a fight with Bobby Hatfield in the alleyway outside the club. And he slit Bobby Hatfield's throat.
Get out of here.
And they sewed him back up, and he was able to sing, but no more high notes. He couldn't go high, like Harry Nilsson couldn't go high anymore. So when Bobby Hatfield did this radio show with me and Flo and Eddie, he sang, oh, my love, my darling, I need you, or whatever. And then he stopped it, and he says, it's too early in the morning. I can't do the high parts. That's on YouTube as well.
Wow.
If you go to the YouTube channel, I've got 1,200,000 hits on my YouTube channel.
If you're looking for a new Harry Nilsson thing to hear, Mickey used the demo that he did for the song Good Times for the Monkees that never got recorded until a couple of years ago, where it's an album named Good Times that they just released like a few years ago. And Mickey uses his piano and his vocal to do the harmony with Mickey. So you can actually, you can hear Harry singing in it. At one point he goes, take it, Harry. And well, Harry's been gone for a while now, but he's still on that album.
Well, that's what the Beatles did with John.
That's true.
They came out with that wonderful video, "Free as a Bird," and what was the other one?
The other one. I know it was two. There was two songs.
Anyhow, that was an endless video shoot. It started off, and every shot was seamless. It moved into the next shot. Everything changed, and it literally the camera moved through the shot for the entire song, and it blows your mind. It was done so well.
Yeah, I thought so, especially for the time.
Well, I have the original cassette copy of the cassette demo of John sitting at the Dakota playing "Free as a Bird" and the other song.
Wow.
Right? Anyway,
I know it's going to bug me too.
And what happened was the Beatles hired Don Was, I think. Wasn't it Don Was? I think it was.
Okay.
And he took the cassette and put it into Pro Tools. Then he auto-tuned it and made a time code. And they fed the time code to Ringo. And Ringo got very upset. He says, "I don't want to do no time code. I am the time code. I am the click track. It's me." So it's great how they overdubbed, but you can hear how they turn up John's vocal and the old piano comes up and then it goes back.
Yep.
And he starts singing. So it was really hard to do, but the Monkees version I haven't heard yet.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it.
Did they do a good job of combining?
Absolutely. It sounds like he's right there in the room recording.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
Real
great.
Love. That was the other song, Real Love.
Real Love, right? Real Love.
I like that one.
The videos of those two songs are God. They're so and it's the Beatles, all four Beatles.
Did you get to meet? Did you meet all four?
I was invited in 1968. I was in New York City with Dr. John the Night Tripper. I was performing at Steve Paul's The Scene, the same place Hendrix went, and then a lot of other big artists play there. Anyway, so Maury Baker is a drummer with Janis Joplin. And he calls me up and said, "We're at a John Lennon party. You want to come on down?" I was in New York. And ironically, at the concert I played with Dr. John, I picked up a girl who looked exactly like Janis Joplin. And I fantasized, and I took her back to my hotel room, and I fantasized I was making love with Janis Joplin. And the phone rings, and it's Maury Baker saying, "Come on down to John Lennon's. We're having a party for his citizenship," or whatever it was.
Sure.
And I said, I really can't come. I'm with this girl who looks like Janis Joplin.
I'm kind of in the middle of something.
I turned down an opportunity to hang out with John. Oh. But I met Paul McCartney at that Alice Cooper, Clarence Clemens Oktoberfest with the Flo and Eddie radio show on K-Rock.
Sure.
Anyway, and then what was I talking about just now?
Which all the Beatles that you met?
A list of stuff.
Yeah.
The Flo and Eddie thing. Or what was another?
Well, you were telling me about all the Beatles you met. You didn't get to meet John.
Oh, right, Beatles. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
I'm glad my brain works sometimes. Anyway, so the Beatles. So I met George Harrison walking over a green hill, a grass knoll, at Harry Nilsson's funeral.
Wow.
A lot of people drove on the road to go to the gravesite, but George Harrison and I decided to take a shortcut and walk over this green hill, this mound, and then we got to the gravesite. So there I am with George Harrison, and I said, "My name is Andy Cahan, George. Pleased to meet you." And he says, "Oh, well, Harry spoke very highly of you."
Aw, that's so sweet.
And I was speechless.
Yeah.
I just said, "Thank you, George." And then we walked silently. I didn't talk to him to the gravesite. And then at the gravesite, we started all singing a Harry song. "You're breaking my heart. Apart, so fuck you." That's the song we all sang at Harry's grave. And that's George. And then Ringo, of course, I met because of Harry. He
Right.
brought him over. So I met 3 Beatles. I
Wow.
met Paul McCartney at that thing. We took a big picture that Henry Diltz took.
Oh, love Henry. Yeah.
And all the radio stations got into the theater, the outdoor theater at Universal. And Paul McCartney was on the stage answering questions about Linda's book and all kinds of stuff that was going on in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was. So I got to meet him and shit. So
that has to be a dream come true for you. I mean, the guy, the people who started it for you.
They're the reason. They are the reason.
Yeah.
And there's millions of musicians. That is the reason of the Beatles.
Exactly.
Became a musician. And it's endless. All the kids that are growing up today, even though they listen to the hip hop and whatever's going on, they hear Beatles songs and they go, wow.
Well, and that's the thing too, because my son, I'm teaching guitar and he's doing really, really well. When you turn that corner and all of a sudden, okay, he's flying on his own. I don't have to pester him to practice. Well, he's there now and he is discovering, like I'll play him some of my favorite Beatles stuff because he likes what I like, but he'll go, oh, wow, that's a great song. Oh, and then he wants to now run upstairs and see if he could figure out how to play it on guitar. And he'll, at the moment he goes, oh, I've never heard that before. Give me a minute. And he runs upstairs. Next thing you know, my wife and I are smiling because he's up there trying to play Help or, The Two of Us or things like that. I see exactly what you mean because you're right. With the Beatles, when they came around, they changed things because they were singing and playing in a different way. Everything had been pretty much a standard. And now they change a little bit. And now your ear goes, wait a minute, this is new. They're not singing on the beat per se, like you were saying. They're kind of off by a bit.
Yeah, take care, bro. The Beatles had a knack of bringing out a natural thing. It was very natural. And they wrote all their songs. They played all their songs. I mean, they did do cover songs.
Sure.
When you look at Paul McCartney in the early days on the Ed Sullivan Show, he never looks down at his guitar. He's always like this. Always playing, always like that. And John was like that too. Once in a while, John would look down a little bit, and George Harrison hardly ever looked. He knew his parts, and it's the rehearsal. That's what the key word is. When you play the same song every day with a band, and that's what I did at 15 years old.
Love it.
Every day after school, we went over to my basement, and everything was all set up, and we started writing together and playing every day after school.
That's amazing.
Until what, 9 o'clock at night or whatever.
Now, do you know that that's like a rarity? I mean, maybe
that's what John and Paul did every day. They got together and sat on a couch, and it was wonderful because Paul's left-handed,
right,
and John is right-handed. So when they're facing each other, it's a mirror image. So it was really easy to learn the chords and to see what he did.
Yeah.
So creativity at 15 years old, that's a wonderful age to be a musician.
Agreed.
13, 14, 15, that is the perfect age to be a musician.
I've always said that's the age of discovery. That's when you should reach back further into the musical catalog. And, and that goes for anything with actors or movies or whatever. At the age of 15, you better be well on your way to discovering your own identity. And like you said, if you're motivated enough, well, now you've just opened up a whole bunch of new doors and make something of your life.
It's wonderful. And that's been my life. There's ups and downs.
Sure.
Sometimes I slept in my car. I went through bankruptcy. I've done repossession. Shit happens.
Sure.
But the key to life is positive.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do. Even though you're hit every day with, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Yeah.
So you got to roll with the punches. That's what my mom always said. Roll with the punches.
It's very true.
Like jumping off something and landing on the ground, you roll to soften the
impact. Yeah.
When shit hits you, your car breaks down, your cat dies. There's some heavy shit that goes on. When animals die, the owners, the people, they go nuts. I cried for weeks when my cat died.
Sure.
And it's like a family. It's
absolutely.
So that's a sensitivity that music will bring to you. Not only does a song remind you of a certain moment in your history when you listen to that song, but the melody and the lyrics take you somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many elements to music. One is the memory of when you were a child and you heard that song, and the other one is the actual song takes you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a multi-dimensional thing. It's wonderful. I love it.
Do you still look to play gigs?
I need to. I got to be on stage. I have to.
Right. I'm with you. I agree. I think once you start, you really can't stop.
Yeah. I mean, the Turtles are touring right now, but they changed their band in 2012 with a New York-based band. They've had many, many members of their band since, they broke up in 1971. And in 1973, I joined the Turtles and played with them longer than any other musician, from 73 to 2012. There was a 6-year period when I was fired from the band. It was the same week I got a divorce from my wife.
Ah, geesh.
We were going through a divorce. The band at that time had 2 keyboard players. One guy on the stage was playing all the synthesizer and the horns, and I was on the other side of the stage playing the piano and the Hammond B3. And then Flo and Eddie said, "We can't afford 2 keyboard players anymore. You got to learn all the horn parts and the synth parts." So I was going through this divorce. I wasn't playing. My chops were down. I sucked. I was desperate in my, losing my family.
Sure.
My wife had taken my children to Arizona, and I lived in California. So I was freaking out, and I failed the audition. I went to Flo and Eddie and tried to show them I can play the horn parts and piano both together, and I failed. I couldn't do it. So they said, "Andy, we love you, but we can't use you." And that happened for 6 years until I started my own studio called the Demo Doctor. And that's the same studio that Harry Nilsson and Ringo and Jimmy Webb and Eric Carmen recorded in on a 4-track cassette. Anyway, so
you got to roll with the flow. Yeah.
Once in a while, I totally forget what I'm talking about.
That's okay. I'm here for you. Let me let you go. Because I could just keep listening forever, but
you can add some really, really good stuff if you go through it meticulously. You'll find some really good stuff in there, then you can interject and put me in there. And
all I have to do is take out the choppy parts from the audio, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, and do you use a split screen? How do you display it on YouTube?
Well, the way that it would typically work is I could set it up a certain way. I think I just never have through Zoom. But what it'll do is whoever's talking, it'll flip to them for that second, and then it'll go back to the other person.
Oh, so it's an audio activated shot.
Yeah, how about that? Thank God for Zoom, because before it used to be so difficult. Like the way I'll do this is I'll put the video version on YouTube, but then I'll put the audio only version up on all the podcast pages, like, like iTunes and everything. So that way people who are just able to put it in their ear can also enjoy it.
Right.
So that way I'm covering all bases. Whereas before I had to pick one over the other, because Skype wouldn't allow you to do both.
Right.
So now, because of the pandemic, well, probably the only good thing that came out of the pandemic was Zoom became popular, and they give you the option of keeping both versions, audio and video.
That's good. So whoever talks gets the screen.
Exactly. And what I'm wondering is if you had shut off I'll be curious to find out, because you had to shut off the video on your side of me, I wonder if it'll be you the whole time for the second half of our conversation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that comes up like.
Yeah, but what I'll do is I'll get this up, and probably up. The video part will be either up today or tomorrow, and then I'll have my buddy, once I edit the audio only, I'll put that up. And if you're not a member of I have a group called the Forever Adventure Network. It's a group page where you can interact. I think you're part of it, but if you're not, feel free to, whenever you want to promote something, that's what it's there for. It's to share all the good stuff besides the Never Gets Old page on Facebook. You're welcome at any point to share anything you want the world to see.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how difficult would it be for me to get a video file, email that I could put into my iMovie? Then I can make a trailer. I can take a whole radio show, and then I could just pull the really cool.
Oh, that's smart.
And make a minute trailer.
Yeah. Well, let me see what I could do on my side. And at the very least, you could probably just take it from YouTube.
Yeah, you tell the Facebook people, you say, here's the trailer to this wonderful podcast I did. Please click here to hear the whole podcast.
That's smart.
It's great to just have a minute trailer where you have the intros, you have some of the great funny little moments that you can grab.
Sure.
And then so you can make I like to make a trailer, but I'm sure you could do something like that, but you're busy editing your show anyway.
But you're welcome to chop it up whatever way you see fit.
Well, if you want to send me a video file via email,
I'll do that.
Now, it would be the same routine where the audio would command who gets the screen.
I believe so.
Okay.
So yeah, we won't have to worry about that. We'll be all good.
That's awesome. I love it.
Good. Well, thank you for doing this. I mean, I knew I would have fun listening to you. I'm sure the audience is going to be thankful, and I'll get many an email or comment on our conversation. And of course, you're welcome back anytime. I mean, I'm happy to shoot the bull with you.
This is one little edit I'd like you to put in the show.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would love for you to go to Google and say the most famous musician you've never heard of. Just go to Google and speak in the mic or type the most famous musician you've never heard of. Then my thing will pop up and you click on it and you can read an excerpt from my book with Harry Nilsson and Timothy Leary and Joe Walsh and all this and Ringo. And then you can go to my website, or you can go to my email and order an autographed copy from me directly, or go to Amazon for a little more money and shipping. I don't charge shipping, and I'm cheaper than Amazon because it's autographed and it's personal for me. So I just wanted you to stick that little piece.
Oh, hey, I was going to ask you to do it anyway, so I'm glad you saved me the trouble.
Maybe put it at the beginning and the end or something.
Absolutely. Well,
or in the middle, or whatever you choose to
that's
do.
the great thing about having you do that intro. You got to introduce it already.
Yeah,
See?
but I wanted to plug my book. I
Absolutely.
just wanted to tell them to Google the most famous musician you've never heard of.
Definitely.
And
Beautiful.
that makes it real easy.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I will let you go, and I will send you that song with Harry Nilsson in it. And yep, and you keep in touch.
Well, thank you so much. I love doing podcasts. I just wish it would sell a lot of books.
I hope it does.
Me too. We'll be in touch whenever you're ready. And thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
My pleasure, buddy. Thank you. I will talk to you later.
Okie dokie. You enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The Never Gets Old podcast is part of the Forever Adventure Network. Music by Harmony Constant. Some artwork by Joseph Arnold and Jared Brown. Donations can be made to Patreon, to Mac Jackson. Join our group pages on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Never Gets Old Pod. Please subscribe, rate, and review. And remember, stay excited, everyone. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure. Hi, everybody. It's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant. 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.